Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Um, we are having a very exciting panel discussion about the future of NFTs. Um, and wherever you're tuning in, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube, don't hesitate to ask any questions. Even if you have questions right now already, you can ask them, and we have many wonderful guests who can um answer your questions. Uh, so it's a full panel, and I think NFTs it's a hype word, a buzzword. In the Netherlands, we have this word of the year that's picked every year, and I think if it wasn't for Corona and there's so many Corona related words, NFT could well be the word of the year. Yeah, and a much heard question is, of course, are NFTs here to stay? Well, this session is about the future of NFTs, so I'm sure we'll get an answer on that. So Hussein is leading the conversation. So I'll give the floor to you to introduce your wonderful panel. Take it away.
Thank you, Amber, and welcome everybody. This is going to be an awesome session with great panelists here that have a lot to share with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the panelists to introduce themselves first, and then we have a few topics to talk about. However, we want your engagement. We want you to participate wherever you're tuning in. Drop in your question, whatever that question is. We have the panelists here have diverse backgrounds and great passion about the word of the year around the world, which is NFTs. So please share your questions and let's make it an engaging panel. Let's start with having the panelists introduce themselves. I'll start with Maha. Maha, why don't you introduce yourself and what you're up to in the world of NFTs?
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here. Thank you, Hussein, for that introduction. I'm Maha Boulainain. I do communications, but my main involvement in NFTs is I have launched several NFT projects. You may have heard of VFriends, which is Gary Vaynerchuk's project, but I also work with Vayner NFT. So we help businesses and brands and IPs launch their projects and really help adopt mainstream education on the NFT space, on crypto, and where people can go in terms of IP and brand. Really excited to be here with everybody today.
Thank you, Maha. Welcome. That's awesome. Let's go to Gino. Gino, why don't you introduce yourself and what are you up to?
My name's Gino Yu. I'm based in Hong Kong. I teach at a university, but I'm involved with a couple projects kind of in the NFT space. We have one project on Metatron.art, which is a project for community building. And then also involved with a project called Supernatural.art, which is kind of an NFT platform for people that for transformational art and services.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Gino, and welcome. Ahmed, why don't you introduce yourself and what you're up to in the world of NFTs?
Sure. Hello, my name is Ahmed Al-Barqi. I'm the co-founder of We Code For You. I've been around in the blockchain area since like 2015. I started a digital real estate shares company in Prague, and now I'm a co-founder of We Code For You, and we are actually working on an undisclosed project related to an NFT. I cannot disclose it right now, but it's a very exciting area, and it's a very exciting technology to be around. And we also help companies in the technical side to do their NFTs and to work on that.
Awesome. Welcome, Ahmed. And Timmy, why don't you introduce yourself and what you're up to?
Sure. So I am a co-founder of Mo4 Network, which is a network of media publications as well as an advertising creative agency in the digital space. And I am launching Nifty Arabia, which is a marketplace for digital art from the Middle East, focusing on specifically art from around the region or about the region from creators from the Middle Eastern diaspora as well. It's focusing on art now, but as a marketplace, obviously how NFTs are changing and the trends are changing. Over the course of the next year, we're looking into also being a marketplace for all things within the metaverse too.
That's awesome. Welcome everybody. That's such a fascinating panel with different backgrounds, and looking forward to discussing this topic with you. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Hussein Halak. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Next Decentrum. Next Decentrum is a blockchain company that is building a platform for NFT called Momentable, and we recently launched Crypto Pharaohs, which is, I mean, as luck would have it, this summit is out of a lot of people from one of my favorite cultures in the world, which is the Egyptian culture. Grew up with the Egyptian media and grew up with love for Egypt, everything that is Egypt, as someone who's grown up in Syria. So that project is about it's kind of inspired from the Egyptian culture, and super excited about. And we're launching other projects. So it's wonderful to see everybody's working on a project in this space. So that's great. Why don't we get started with? I would like to start with Ahmed. And Ahmed, why don't we start with this idea of the relationship between the creator and the creation, and having the creator use NFTs to maintain their ownership and getting value from their creation as it lives in the world, whereas something that was not possible in the past. Can you elaborate more about this idea and what your thoughts about it?
So as I always say to my friends who are asking about what is NFT, how we can be there, what are the benefits for the people who are creating stuff. I believe the main benefit is to get the right of what you created and keep it for yourself. So basically, and you can benefit it and distribute it to whoever you would like to. So the internet itself as an area is evolving, and since the blockchain was introduced, it was the internet 2.0. And now we are using that to keep our rights for any creation that we make. This is crazy thing. Like, imagine before having the iPhone or the new platforms that we built, anybody was copying a song and using it and listening to it all the time. But when you created a platform where it's like you need to subscribe to Apple Music or like Spotify or some other areas that you pay for in order to listen to some music. And this shifted again to the creators or the musicians, the money and the ownership of their creation. What's happening now, you don't need this mediator in between. You create your own, you put your own terms, and you distribute it to whoever you want, and you put the copyrights to the people that you want. It's a very exciting area to be in and to work on.
Cool. Panelists, what do you guys think about this area, and what is your take on that, like getting the ownership back to the creator? Why is it important? If the creator gets paid anyway, like through Apple or Spotify or other platforms, why is NFT so important in your opinion?
I think in reality, a lot of these creators, they're not getting paid for their work, especially when you talk about this sort of creative economy. What ends up happening is they go work in advertising or they're freelancing. Mm-hmm. So obviously being compensated directly for your work and your content it's revolutionary. And this paradigm shift from I'm going to create work and then I'm going to post it on social media and hope for a bunch of likes, which only benefits the social media platform as opposed to the creator, but essentially creating and directly selling that to an audience or to fans and engaging them directly is absolutely revolutionary for people to be compensated and to make a living off as well.
I think also too, just building on that this is the function of blockchain, is it allows you to have validation, authentication of your asset, which hasn't existed before. And so that's why I think this industry is going to change how we do everything forever, because for an artist to be able to have that validation and ownership and proof of that ownership in a decentralized format, it's going to change everything.
Gina, what do you think?
I can add to it a bit, and basically, the view, at least from the creator's part, is if you look at it, if you look at digital technology and NFTs, digital technology is just mass media in digital form that can be massively disseminated. You think of mass media is just industrialized art. And if you take art all the way back to its origin, it's really to help you understand who are you, why are you here, and what is this? So if you think of, the shaman around the fire, to the cave paintings in Lascaux, all of these things, it's all these people that were getting messages, if you will, and leading people into the unknown. And so what happened was, originally, if you look at the early time, it was literally a person that just literally spoke around the fire. But then, art and media kind of got shanghaied a little bit. It became kind of a religion, and the governments, that basically kind of controlled it. And then it was the high net worth people that were the patrons. And then if you look at, with the industrialization, it's the movie studios, the recording studios and everything. And they were all intermediating and controlling what people saw and everything. With the internet, that kind of spread out, but there was no revenue model. And then things got a little bit crazy for a little bit with BitTorrent and all of these other things. But now there's a huge opportunity where an artist can create something, and then an investor or someone that is really interested in it could purchase it. And then once it's purchased and the artist is compensated, it can be liberated. And related to this, I feel that, although there are a lot of different things about art, if you look at the way I describe it there, art, from my perspective, art isn't therapy. Art isn't persuasion, that's advertising and everything. True art is something that can potentially heal and to transform. So if you think like in the Indian traditions of mantra and yantra, and the sounds that you hear and the visuals that you see can potentially heal and transform, and which is what the world needs today globally. And so now we have this digital technology that can take this, we have this term media as medicine, and transmit it to everyone around the world to potentially heal. Now there's a way in which artists can create something, be compensated for it, and then also have that spread out to the world into different cultures, into different languages and everything. And I think that's a very powerful an opportunity for us to finally use this new technology in a way to help use media in its proper way. And if you look at it too, I'm just going to jump into it. If you think of the value of these NFTs right now, it's just a JPEG. Why is this JPEG worth $100,000 just because this other person owns another one? That doesn't really make sense. Or even being part of an exclusive club, that doesn't really make sense either. If you think about the value of art and the opportunities here now, art, I feel, if you look at the role of art in society in this way, art should facilitate transformation and healing. And the value of a piece of art should correlate to the number of people that have benefited from it in a positive way. And so, if you look at the value of, say, the Beatles catalog, why is the Beatles catalog so valuable? All I have to do is say, "Let It Be" or "Hey Jude," and you know what it means. It's in the collective consciousness of everyone already, and it has a particular meaning. And so I think the value of art should be related to the number of people that has impacted in a positive way. And so part of trying to get fundamentals, so if you think of the value of a company in the old days, it used to be kind of the PE ratio and everything. The value of art should relate to how it's benefiting society and individuals.
Do you believe that?
Go ahead.
I was saying, do you believe that is what is happening currently within the NFT space?
As in, like,
it's being created with that effect in mind, or how do you feel it has shifted?
I was going to actually articulate that, but yeah, go ahead. Please, Gino, answer that.
No, I don't want to dominate this, but clearly right now, no, just like crypto and everything, right? And so there were pure origins for this. And if you look at what happened with the internet at the beginning, all technologies have this, oh, wow, this has the potential to really transform. And then usually it gets shanghaied now. A lot of people that thought Facebook was great now are realizing what, this whole kind of centralized platforms could potentially do. But all of this is still looking at things in a monetized way and everything. And really not, for me, just telling this story is really bringing back to what is the role of media in society? What is the role of art? How do we make sense of the world? And then now, how do we bring the narratives together and facilitate, the healing that has to happen in this world to make this world a better place for all of us? And so,
Cool.
Me, this is my academic hat on too, is really looking at it in this way with the hopes of trying to, bridge long-term differences. If you look at Egypt right now and Israel and all the problems of the world today, and how do we solve all of these problems in the world? Ultimately, it's individuals and it's transformation and healing at the individual level on a societal scale.
So this brings up like a very important thing. Some people see what's on the surface. I think to Timmy's point and your point that there is this thing about NFTs are an investment vehicle, or people buy and flip and doing that. But there's an underlying there, people interest in art. We sometimes art was kind of this elitist thing that only certain people could buy, and now you can have regular people, if that's like people who don't have high means, they can participate and fund an artist. And there is this interest in the arts, which brings us to a topic I want to ask Maha about, is about the language and the education, the adoption around NFTs. Where do you see that going? Like, how is it going to show up in our daily lives? Right now, it's a small group of people. How is it going to expand? What are your thoughts about that?
So I love that we're talking about art so much, because this isn't a conversation that a lot of us have never been talking about art as much as we have this year. But NFTs are more than digital art. So when people heard about the internet or the World Wide Web or the information superhighway, we all thought the internet was about search engines with Web 1.0. Then we discovered with Web 2.0, it's social media, it's apps, it's e-commerce. It's so much more than just search engines. And the same thing now as we enter 3.0 with blockchain technology and NFTs. And so I think one is a lot of people heard about NFTs for the first time when they heard that Beeple sold a piece of art for $69 million. But I think what I'd love to have everyone learn more about and educate themselves around is how this technology has applications in so much more besides art. So I just saw the other day, like your vehicle registration will be an NFT. How will NFTs work for brands? Yesterday, we saw Pepsi did a huge drop of an NFT collection. So brands getting into the space to create a unique experience for their consumers. Governments will start to create NFTs to have everything from your digital wallet to your digital license. We're going to see the application of NFTs in so much more than just art and digital art and content creators, and really bring it into real life and everything we're doing. If you have a ticket to a concert, it's going to be created into an NFT, or to a stadium. The applications are going to be with music, with artists, of how they can control the IP. So educating yourselves on what is the blockchain technology, what are NFTs, how can they be used for so much more than just besides art, and how do we understand that NFTs is not just a way for people to make a lot of money or to flip money or to work in crypto. There's such a big opportunity of a shift that's going to happen regarding the technology of blockchain, and I really want everyone to spend some time learning about it and getting educated about it. It's like the early days of the internet. So it's on ramp that everyone's going to have to do to really educate themselves around the space.
So true. I want to jump into Timmy. We got this question from Shireen. So NFTs is decentralized ownership and validation, as blockchain does. Could you shed light from the perspective of the producer and investor, as someone who's building an NFT platform and someone who's involved into media as well? There's producer, and there are the people. Before it was like a consumer, but now the consumer is an investor. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that is one of the biggest shifts that will happen in terms of our ideas of consuming as buyers. Right now, what will happen with NFTs is you can choose as a customer, am I going to consume the product, or am I going to invest in this product or invest in this brand? And so if, for example, Pepsi come out with some token or another with certain benefits, essentially when you're buying this token, you're also investing in the Pepsi brand. And the better this brand does, the more value that your token has. And that idea of buy or invest is essentially an amazing thing to happen, which is giving power to on the consumer side, and also giving way for the producer to connect more directly with the consumer as well.
Yeah,
I think just
go ahead,
building
go ahead.
the investor piece, like now we can have ownership in some of the brands that we have. So a lot of the NFT projects that are launching from companies and businesses, it's about access and utility. They're going to give you access to the brand. There's some utility around the NFT. Do you get to go to a, like, let's say for a fashion brand, you get to go to a trunk show. Do you get to see the collection early? So if you're an investor in that NFT project, they should have a roadmap. They should be giving you access to something. They should be providing you utility. So look for projects to invest in for NFTs that give you something where you can really find that you're a part of a community and really grow with that business or IP or brand that you've been investing in.
That's so true. Ahmed, as someone who actually kind of builds the product on the inside, see the say the guts of the product and how it's built. What are some of the ways that you think these mechanics are changing the relationship? Someone who, there's a different way we build those. How does that change the relationship? How are you seeing it from that perspective?
I'm more focused on how the experience of the main user will change. I believe that like the normal user will not realize that this is based on blockchain, because he will get his ticket for the concert, or he will get an image for something and he will use it in the future, like normal application that he's using right now. So the main experience of the normal user will not change much unless there's something big happening on the big platforms. Like, for example, I imagine that when I'm posting like a profile picture on Facebook, they should ask me, do I own this picture or not? And I should prove it using an NFT or like a proof of ownership of whatever I'm posting or I'm sharing or I'm using in any of the major platforms. This will be the game changer for NFTs, because the main question is for people, why do I have to pay 8 million for a very like small picture when I can just screenshot it?
Exactly.
It's the question. Like, people ask me all the time like this, and my question is, my answer is, it's the ownership of the thing. You can buy a Louis Vuitton high copy, and you can buy a Louis Vuitton like original bag. This exists and that exists. Why people pay like hundreds of thousands or like tenth of thousands of dollars for the original Louis Vuitton when they can have like a very high copy, exact same thing with like a quarter of the price? It's the same thing in the NFT, it's the ownership of the thing. I own it. It's the status. It's like a thing to show to people and to the community that you're in. So when you're going to the mass social media or where Meta is gonna happen, or people will show their stuff, their picture, their house, their ownership of stuff in the metaverse, and the communication will be like, I own this, or I screenshot that, I stole it somehow. I'm not the real owner of that, and this will shift dramatically the value of the NFT.
Are NFTs then the death of memes?
Yeah.
maybe
Never.
I don't know.
Never.
Gino, I want
don't think
to
so. Well,
Yeah, go ahead,
We
Ahmed.
will talk about memes and the future of memes at 6:15 today.
Really?
So
Okay, good. So
yeah.
we don't have to get into it. Okay. So Gina, I want to pull you in on something here. I mean, yes, there is shifting in let's say the mechanics and the democratization of ownership, and NFTs are leading the charge on this. There is also the thing where art has always been somehow elite, in the sense that you would, if you want, not all of us are invited, not all of us know even that there's a, let's say, an exhibition of a certain artist, or to show up to that exhibition. Maybe we get the chance, it's open for public, you get to visit. I remember going to exhibitions, but when, let's say, the launch is happening, you don't get invited. There's only a few people invited. I mean, we see that even in the museums, where the Met Gala, for example, the elitist of the elite are invited there. Is that changing? Is that the relationship between white society and, let's say, and art and artists and creators themselves, is that shifting? And how do you see that in the future impacted by NFTs? How will it change?
Well, as I mentioned before, we're trying to shift it, really look at it in one way, looking at it in its role in society. And so, again, the point is that, art is not therapy, art is not persuasion. And from my perspective, art isn't really about speculating and making money. True art is to help facilitate healing and transformation. As Maha was mentioning earlier, there are utilities now for this to build communities. And you'd like to create things, communities inclusive. The one term that people haven't really talked about yet, where things get digital, is the metaverse, right? We haven't, I think, been the first one to bring that up. But when you have things that are purely digital, and NFTs, or in terms from a value perspective, or ways of valuing all of that. But for me, I'm a little bit, I went to school at Berkeley. I have a view, given the state of the world today. I'm also a little older than most of you. I'm 57 this year. I have 4 kids, and just concerned about kind of the future of the world today. And about 15, 20 years ago, for the intellectual property department here in Hong Kong, looking at digital media and looking at the time, torrent and all of these other things that were happening, I came up with, and looking at the IP wars of we've got this deadly virus, but no, we've got the patent, and hey, we have to make money off of this and everything, the pharmaceutical industries and everything. I came up with this radical kind of idea that I've been preaching, and I'm still kind of in this as well too, in that anything that affects the mind should be free. Anything that affects people can help with their development. It's before you had to make things, you had to write down, and you had to print, and then you had to, make discs and stuff and send them out. But now with this network, the distribution right now costs like next to nothing. And we are going global. And ultimately, we should also be supporting each other in our own personal journeys and endeavors towards finding the peace within ourselves, so that we can find our meaning and purpose. And, now education and all this other stuff, as digital technology sweeps into different industries, it's going to radically change everything. And, there is what's the interest for me personally? There's the interest of me and my company, but then, what's the interest for society? And related to that, just getting back to the artists, we have a project that we're about to launch here, using NFTs to create a club. And so in the early days, it was the shaman, or these people that have had kind of awakening experiences, that were getting downloads and everything, that were the visionaries. There's a guy named Leonard Schlein who wrote a book called Art and Physics. There's a great YouTube video for it too. And he looks at the development of art, and he looks at the development of science, and notices that there's a parallel to them. And so it seems like the artists and the scientists are at the forefront. There's a wavefront of consciousness, and the artists and the scientists are at the forefront of it, kind of like guiding the masses towards that. And so for us, for me at least, in terms of looking at this in perspective, it's really finding these artists that have had kind of these experiences, had maybe an awakening experience or something like this, and then building community among those people as well too, and then helping to ground them and help them kind of develop their gifts. And this could be in creating art, or it could be in healing. If I asked you right now, as an example, and this is getting into the supernatural.art platform, but if I asked all of you, who's the top sound healer in Cairo, or in the city that you're in, could you tell me, is there like a Yelp kind of a thing for this area? And it's difficult right now. And so right now, how do we build community and identify people, and then build community, and then among this community of people, create the new art and the products and services potentially that can help facilitate healing and transformation. And so again, using NFTs to identify communities of people, what we're doing is we're looking for people that have had, spiritual emergency or awakening experiences, and then having them kind of provide a testimonial of their experience. And then for that, we give them an NFT, and then we kind of build community in this way. And so there are a lot of unique ways of using NFTs right now to build global community and a global tribe to affect change.
On that note, that's a very important. I want to move to Timmy and ask you, especially when we talk about right now with NFTs are creating these communities. Like if you're generative, you create like a community of 10,000 people or a club, or if you follow certain artists, you kind of identify. You're going beyond like I'm part of a Facebook group or something. Now you're part of a group that owns something, and you're now building Nifty Arabia. And it kind of brings me to my origin story, where I built the largest marketplace for Middle Eastern art in the world in 2006, way before, and I didn't think of monetization. So that's why when NFTs came around, I was like, oh, that's the solution, because we built it and we couldn't monetize. Beyond that, why now you're building something that focuses on an area or art coming from a specific area? Why do you think that's important, and how do you see the future of NFTs? Is it like more, let's say Nifty Arabia, Nifty, I don't know, South Asia or something like that? And why is that important rather than, let's say, one platform, the Facebook style, if you wish?
Yeah, so I mean, this was definitely something that I considered a lot. But having spoken to a lot of artists or creators around the region who haven't yet taken that step to create an NFT, they either felt intimidated and overwhelmed by a technology they haven't looked into yet. So knowing that there's someone here to hold their hands through that process and to have that discussion with them was important. The second thing I found is these creators, when they put their art on these global marketplaces, aside from not really being pushed out, they're not really given the correct context of what the art is for the region. So if I have an NFT, for example, which is showing someone dancing to Mahaganak music next to a tuk-tuk, no one in the West is going to understand that, and nor are they going to tell the right story behind why this is something that's cool. And us being from the region and having this background in terms of storytelling, we hope to really give the right context to creators within this region. As that literacy develops in the region and it becomes more normalized and commercialized in the future, yes, it does make more sense to have a more open platform, because the metaverse doesn't have boundaries, does it, right? And that's the whole beauty of it. But this is just a kind of, hey, we're here and we're doing this and we're on the edge of technology as well, and this isn't something that we're going to be catching up with.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Ahmed, I want to pull you here to when talking about kind of bridging the gap and introducing people from different regions, and let's say breaking down boundaries using this new technology. One of the challenges is these different platforms, and we have different blockchains. And the fact is, even though we want to bring things together, if you're on Ethereum blockchain, you might not be able to move, let's say, to another blockchain. And depending on who wins, let's say, these wars, how do you envision that impacting the future of NFTs from that perspective? And the creator, because as you said, the creator doesn't care about blockchain. The collector even doesn't care about blockchain, right? You mentioned that. So, but these are real limitations that they might not be aware of. It's like, oh, I'm on the blockchain, but which blockchain? Stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on the future of NFTs? And do you think there will be, easy to jump between, blockchains? Do you think we will have one kind of, just like we have one internet? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's very hard to have only one, and I think there will be at least 3 or 5 that will, like 3 to 5 platforms that will survive. There will be one that will win, that it's the easiest for people to adapt
Do you have
to the
secret knowledge
technology.
who's gonna lose so that we can run
I
away
don't
from?
have any idea about that. I don't know how it will work. Like, I cannot see the future, you know. But what I can see from what happened before is, it's like, the social media, you know. Like, now we have Facebook, which is dominating the thing, you know, the scene. But we had Facebook alike at some point of time, and they were competing together, and things were moving, but they are still surviving as well with like smaller communities, and that's it. But the one that will survive, I can tell you that the one that's like user friendly for the normal people, you know, where they get in and they don't feel the complication of having like, the key for the wallet, and the MetaMask has to be installed in some way, and things like, it's a little bit complicated for the normal person. It has like a curve of education that needs to be met, you know. So I don't see that happening very like now at this moment, but I believe the one that will dominate is the one that will be very easy in customer journey on how they are using the technology.
We're just in early days. I think people underestimate
Exactly.
like how we are in this whole process. And so I think we're just, you know, there's going to be several, you know, you were asking about like people who want to be on, use Ethereum or Polygon or Solana. Like, there's so many different, and we're still in early days. There's an abundance. There's a lot of room. We're still in, you know, the very, 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 very beginning of how this is going to explode, and time will tell which ones are going to be the ones that people gravitate to. Is it because it's, you know, ETH is hard to acquire. It's not as easy as doing some of the other types of blockchains. So I think a lot of people are going to see how they can learn to experience and launch NFT projects using other platforms.
So, Maha, since you jumped in here, I was actually gonna ask you, how do you see the future of NFTs being shaped by, or the importance of us as leaders in the, let's say in the NFT space, to kind of educate and help adopt? What is our role that we need to play, and what do you see not happening right now that needs to happen in the future for NFTs to be properly understood, avoid NFT scams, like stuff like that? What are your thoughts? Because you're big on education.
Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, I would say you need to be on Twitter. You need to be on Twitter because that's where a lot of the NFT conversations are happening. So start following as many accounts as possible, learn, read, absorb. I think the fundamental way that businesses or people can succeed on NFTs is if they build community. So join a bunch of Discord channels, start reading, start watching, start engaging in the conversation. I think that's a big, big, big part of the success of some of the big blue chip NFT projects, is if they have a community, they invest in the community, they speak to their community, they nurture their community. So if you want to learn about NFTs, join a community, join Twitter. Find out what are the different, like we were just talking about, the different types of blockchain technologies that are out there. You know, it's not something for everybody. A lot of people aren't going to be interested in learning about decentralized, you know, DeFi and learning about blockchain and the technology, but they do care about art, or they do care about access and utility. They do care about being part of a community. So I think the first part of the education is getting on those two big platforms and really start to listen and to read and to absorb and ask as many questions as possible.
That's a perfect kind of point, I think, to end on. I think we have maybe 1 minute left. I would totally, first of all, brilliant panel. Thank you guys for all your contributions. And I would, on taking kind of the point from Maha, engage with all of the speakers here. They're working on amazing projects. And follow up with them. Tell them what you liked. Ask them questions. Yeah, Maha's pointing like, hey, there's the handle there. So engage with them. Yeah, whatever you can look. So engage, ask, participate, learn, and I think that's a great starting point. I always say that if you're not willing to put your time to learn something, don't put your money. You need to always first be willing to invest the time to learn about something and to engage with it, then invest your money. Don't invest your money first. Don't go for the cash grab. So with that, thank you guys for making it such an enjoyable panel. I learned a lot, and definitely encourage everyone to kind of connect with
Thanks,
you and
Steve.
learn. Back to you,
Thanks,
Amber.
everybody. Thanks, everybody. Great panel.
Thank you so much, Hussein. Really
Have a
enjoyed
great
it.
Right.
Thank you, guys. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. I learned a lot as well. So yeah, I know a lot more about and understand a lot more about NFTs now. So I know it's about ownership, about appreciation, about rights, validation. So that was super interesting. If you're watching and you have still some questions left for our speakers, you can tell us and we can provide you with a link, and you would be able to meet them after we stop going live. So that's an opportunity. Yeah. Let me also say I was super inspired by the definition of art, and yeah, it really resonates with me. And I wanted to take this opportunity to remind you that I'm here as one of the creators of Value Magazine, one of publication, which is also all about transformation and maybe a bit of healing as well. We're exploring new economies, and we do so through articles, reflections, but also photo series, illustrations. So if you're curious, you can order your copy with 20% off this weekend. So our next session is a very special session. It's a coaching session on leadership. So it will be a small group session. If you're interested, we'll see you in a minute. Thank you.